Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Jack and Zack Kentucky Roundball Attack. Tentatively is how we're going to. I guess we're going to name this podcast for day one. Step one of day one is going to be finding a new name. But for now, that is what we're going to stick with because it rhymes. We are no longer the Max. We can't use that anymore. But my name is Zack Geoghegan. We got Jack Pilgrim here as well. Jack, how are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I am excited to move on to this new adventure with you. We enjoyed our time with the Maggie Davis. She is now off to bigger and better things. She was fantastic, but all good things must come to an end at some point. And she left us scrambling for a brand new name. So I'm sorry if there's somebody to blame for that corny name. It's 100% her because we were all worked out with the Max. Things were fantastic. And now we are stuck with the Jack and Zack Kentucky Roundball Attack. So,
but we will figure something out better. The creative juices just aren't necessarily flowing right now. It's been sucked away by, we'll just say COVID.
Yeah. Well, if you guys like it, let us know. It's just kind of if there's something you want to like tinker with the name or hoops attack or we don't have to play on the Jack attack name.
It's low hanging fruit. That's why we went for it originally.
It's very, very much low hanging fruit. So give us some suggestions. Let us know what you think, and we would love some advice on this corny name. But until then,
let's quickly tell them what we're going to be. Let's tell them what this is all about, so they can kind of have a better idea of what to even think of for a name. So with the Max, us three, we kind of went through just newsy stuff throughout the week or whenever Maggie was free to record with us. We would just kind of update whatever was going on. So this is what we're going to be doing here is focusing pretty much solely basketball. It's going to be only hoops talk. So we kind of have a rough layout of how we're going to do this. We're going to start each episode. We're going to go run through some men's basketball talk, some women's basketball talk, some NBA talk. Mostly BBNBA, but today might be a little switch up. We might do some little Celtics talks with Jack, and then I'm also a Cavs.
My favorite.
Heads up, those two teams might be in your ears more than you'd like. But anyways, we're going to do those three topics, and then maybe at the end of each episode, kind of give our hot take, our Kentucky basketball hot take of the week related to whatever you might want it to be. It could even it might not even be related to basketball. We might just try and say things to get the crowds roused. So
UK athletics based, but mostly, if it's UK Georgia and football, or we're going to stick to basketball with this primarily. But if there's not a hot take to be had in basketball, we're going to go with the current events, and we just so happen to have some
hot takes.
And this week especially, we will have hot takes.
Yes. So I guess we'll go ahead and kind of just kick ourselves off here and dive straight into some men's basketball talk, if that's all right with you, Jack. We've got a couple of big quality news items to discuss quickly.
Yeah, this is like the biggest Kentucky basketball week, or I guess 2 days, 48 hours of the entire summer. This was just, we were waiting since May for this news with Olivier Sarr. He committed May 6th, I believe. And we have been, I think we've had like weekly posts up on KSR about, oh, this guy is getting a waiver before Sarr. This guy's getting a waiver before Sarr. The NCAA is implementing this rule that could help Olivier Sarr's case. It was over and over and over and repetitive, nonstop. And finally, we've reached our big day.
I think there was 5 different points over the last 5 or so months where I've been like, this is the week. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
And never once came.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Jacob talking on top of it. On top.
I see what you did there. Yeah. We kind of reached that point in the summer where we were like, oh, I think, the NCAA is starting to put out a whole bunch of new waiver requests and updates. And it kind of feels like we're right on the cusp of this. And then we come to find out the SEC had to rule on it themselves as well. So there was a whole, we weren't even halfway there at some points that we thought we were right on the cusp of it. So that day has finally come. Olivier Sarr is officially eligible. Jacob Toppin is officially eligible. 2 massive pieces, one obviously more significant than the other, especially for this coming season, with just how important Olivier is to the team, how good he is. third team all ACC, 14-8 and 1 block per game type guy. I mean, to say that this is a massive get would be an understatement. I mean, Kentucky desperately needed this.
I think the Toppin news is really a little underrated as well, because, initially he was just going to sit out this whole year, and now he gets the free year of eligibility. So he doesn't lose it at all. He's going to get a whole extra year to play. If this kid is really as athletic and as raw as everyone says he is, this is exactly what you want. You want to give him this whole year. Even if he sits on the bench the whole time, you want to be able to give him the opportunity to go out there and play. So I love to see all that stuff, especially the Sarr news. It felt like even Jeff Goodman threw us in his top 10. So I think about 2 hours. I remember when that news broke, we were all kind of covering the site that night. And immediately, I think I saw 5 or 6 different media outlets immediately put Kentucky at 6 or 7 spots higher than they initially had him in their rankings. So it seems like we're pretty much now a consensus top 5 team at this point. Yeah.
And I think with Sarr, I think I said this on the Max a couple times. Without Sarr, Kentucky was their ceiling was Sweet 16. They were not going to get past that. Calipari has said over and over again, Bruiser Flynn has said over and over again, if you do not have a legitimate post threat, if you don't have a true post presence down low, you're a fraud. And we've seen some Kentucky. I mean, look what happened with the Tyler Ulis, Jamal Murray year. That team did not have a true post presence with Skal Labissiere. Great kid, but that was not a guy that you could rely on to do anything down low. Marcus Lee wasn't that guy on that team. And where did they end up? Didn't get past the round of 32. So you look historically for the Kentucky teams, especially in the Calipari era, they've always had one anchor down low that you could rely on. Worst case scenario, you throw it down low, he can do something with the ball. He can score for you. Olivier has great court vision, great passer. So he's going to do something positive with the ball every time he touches it. And that in itself is just so valuable for a very young group of talented, but very young group of Wildcats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess where do you see, what's your prediction now? What's your prediction for the end of the season? Give your honest, realistic expectations now with Sarr and Sarr and Toppin in the lineup. You've got the whole team now. And first of all, actually answer me this first. How many players what's the rotation like? How deep are we?
Okay.
Once we play, what is the rotation going to look like? Because I don't see a platoon ever happening again. Well, I wish it would.
I said this on Sources Say Wednesday night. I talked to somebody that has been watching practices, very, very familiar with how things are going in practice. And he told me Cal never does the platoon system. He keeps his rotations at 7 to 8 by the time we get to March. But he said, this team is very, very, very talented and very, very, very deep, and they're connecting well. The chemistry is there. All of those boxes that you kind of need checked off for a national title contender are there. They're being checked off as every single day that they're in practice. And he tossed the idea of a platoon. He said, I get it. I understand the way Calipari works. I know this. I know that he likes, he gets stubborn and he likes his group of guys. But he said, me just watching, I think Terence Clark said earlier this week when he talked to the media, he said there's not a big drop off from unit 1 to unit 2. And I think that's telling because that falls in line with what I heard of what's going on in practice, that they're switching jerseys and, the reversible practice uniforms, and both units are looking just as good as the other. I mean, the Terence Clarks and BJ Bosses of the world are obviously better than, that next group down, but the drop off isn't one where you go, well, that's obviously the people that need the 35 minutes a game. The other guys behind them need 10 or 15. It's more of that 25, 15, 25, 20 minute differential from unit 1, unit 2. I don't think they'll go true platoon, but I think that this team is way too deep, way too talented to not utilize a deeper bench. I think just, foul trouble always happens. People get banged up. Nick Richards missed some time last year with, various injuries. EJ Montgomery missed some time early with some injuries. Injuries happen. And I think that is a difference, especially in a season with so much uncertainty with how is the season going to even be played? Why, what are the specifics of it? With so many questions, having 11 scholarship guys that can come in and contribute from day one, I just think they're at an upper. They have the upper hand on college basketball right now.
When Cal made that video, I guess what was that, 3 or 4 days ago when he put that out, I remember texting you all saying it felt like Cal usually doesn't come out and talk. He obviously kind of threw some backhanded compliments at his team, but he came out and he seemed pretty good. He's very happy about where this team was at. Still, what are we? We're still a whole month away from the first game. So usually it doesn't, obviously, being trapped inside and social media, maybe it made him more likely to do something like this nowadays. But he just seems like he's jiving more with this team than he normally does. And I don't know, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I feel like Cal really gives players, especially beginning there, he's going to give them an opportunity to play. If fans may not think they necessarily deserve it or not, but he's going to give these players an opportunity to play. So I think at the beginning of the year, he could get into a situation where the talent is forcing his hand. And, if he's got 10 players that all deserve to be on the court, he's probably going to try and find a way to get them all on there. I guess the question will then be, does that continue on into the rest of the year like it did in 2015, where they were able to take that all the way to the tournament? And, it's easy to say right now that we have 10 players, but there's always going to be a couple guys going throughout the season that might not, live up to those expectations. So,
yeah. And here's
what is your top? Give me your top 8.
That's tough. Well, first, let me give you the exact quote that I got from the guy that's been watching practice. It said, "They're all working hard. You always hear Calipari talk about how he likes his team. No, he really likes this team. These kids are good. They're just so deep. That's why he's so excited. They're deep. Normally his teams go 8 deep. They are 9, 10 solid, 10 easy. It's a platoon lookalike. They're going to be a matchup nightmare for teams." So
interesting to hear.
I personally don't see the platoon happening. I think that was just when you have 4 guys on the team that are 7 feet tall and your starting point guards are 6'6", and you have, that team was just something that, hate to say it, we'll never see ever again in college basketball. Just that level of talent, that level of experience with Willie Cauley-Stein, and obviously Alex Poythress got hurt, but it was top heavy with seniority with Willie and Alex Poythress to start the year. You had those middle of the pack guys with Andrew Harrison, year 2 guys, Dakari Johnson, the Harrison twins, those guys, and then the very talented young freshmen and Tyler Eulis, Karl Towns, Trey Lyles, Devin Booker. That team just was the most complete group of talent. But
freshmen. It felt like these freshmen are they're not as highly touted. They are obviously they're a great class, the number 1 class. But that 2015 class, they had 4 or 3 lottery selections. Tyler Eulis, do we have? Is Devin Askew going to be a guy that goes in the lottery, or is Isaiah Jackson going to be a guy that's like, do we have guys that are actually going to be that good?
All right, let's go through the rotation. Let's go through I have the depth chart pulled up right now. All right, your starting group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing it could be, it's a toss up right now between Davion Mintz and Devin Askew at the starting point guard job, which is fantastic.
I would have thought Askew would be their guy.
Which is, I think that's a good thing, because it's one of those things that what Davion Mintz brings to the table. He started a ton of games at Creighton. He was a guy that, he's played 3. I think he's played in 3 Big East tournaments. He's played in 2 NCAA tournaments, 1 NIT. This is a guy that has played postseason basketball. He's a guy that you could trust from day one. You have to remember, Devin Askew was a reclass guy that made the jump from 2021 to 2020. So I think at the end of the day, Calipari has been outspoken, I think, behind the scenes, that he wants personally Devin Askew to hand the keys over to him by the end of the year. But when you have a guy with so much veteran value in Davion Mintz, and I kind of equate that situation to the Andrew Harrison, Tyler Eulis situation. At times, Tyler Eulis was very obviously the better point guard between him and Andrew Harrison, but what you're always going to get with Andrew Harrisons of the world. He's a not a guarantee, but he's a consistent, and that might hold precedent a little. That might be a little bit more favorable for Calipari, at least to start the year. So I kind of look at that situation as an Andrew Harrison, Tyler Eulis situation. So let's kind of indirectly compare this to that platoon team and see how off base we are.
If you can match it up.
If we get to the bottom of this roster and it's like, all right, yeah, they're not even close to what that is, then we'll tell ourselves that we're stupid. But let's just, for argument's sake, let's just do it. Terence Clark is the starting 2 guard, which I think that's a guarantee. Heard incredible things about him. He is going to be a lottery pick. He's probably going to be a top 10 pick, might even be a top 5 pick. He's that good. He's a damn good player. Physically, kind of that, I've said this before, just super strong core. I mean, he's one of those guys that had put on a good bit of muscle and weight this summer, working out and developing his game, developing his body a little bit. He's NBA ready right now. Talking to some parents, talking to some family members, people that worked out with him this summer. He's a guy that has made a huge jump from where we saw him last year as a senior in high school and at the AAU events and all that. He is a lock-in guarantee. I put him easily better than that Aaron Harrison right now. I mean, I know Aaron Harrison has the shots and all that stuff, but in terms of being a quality basketball player, production, you're not gonna convince me that Aaron Harrison is a better all around true player than Terence Clark is. I think he easily has that one.
Well, and Terence Clark's frame was kind of one of my biggest issues with him coming in. So I guess you're saying that he's put on enough weight that that's not necessarily one of your issues anymore.
No, I'm very much impressed with that. And then Dante Allen versus Devin Booker as the backup 2. Obviously, we got to tip that to Devin to
we also haven't seen Dante play, but obviously Booker was him.
But I'm also very high on Dante Allen. This is a guy that averaged 40 points a game in high school for 13 games before he had his major injury. He's missed all of this past year. He broke his collarbone as well. I mean, it's been a long, tough journey for him, but it's obviously but comparing the 2 overall, I'm taking Terence Clark well ahead of Aaron Harrison, and then Devin Booker obviously ahead of Dante Allen. Net equal, maybe? Would you compare those 2? Maybe.
I think it's hard.
Probably, but I mean, I'd probably favor that 2014-15 team, but still, it's not enough to go, well, this argument's stupid right now. You go to that third group, BJ Boston as the starter versus Trey Lyles as the starter on that 2014-15 team.
Probably take BJ
Boston. BJ Boston's a star. Absolutely.
Lyles did go lottery, but
that was a long-term investment, not a short-term.
Lyles was definitely a very, very, very good UK player, but he was not the go-to guy as BJ Boston will be. BJ Boston will, for all intensive purposes, will be the Karl Anthony Towns of this team. If
BJ Boston doesn't score 15 points a game, I will be just absolutely shocked.
They probably won't win many games if he doesn't score 15 points.
I just don't envision a scenario where BJ Boston is not that guy. And then the backups, who is behind?
I've got it pulled up right now. So we got
the 3
behind the 3. Let's see. Backups here. We've got Lyles, Johnson, Eulis, Marcus Lee, Poitras, Dominique Hawkins, and then Derek Willis. And then you got
was Derek Willis that backup 3?
Derek Willis did not play more than 5 minutes a game that season. Derek Willis played 4 minutes a game.
Okay.
So the backup 3 would have been, let's see, they started, Trey Lyles started a lot. Alex Poitras started. Dominique Hawkins still got some starts.
Yeah, Poitras started the year, and then so I guess to start the year, it was Poitras. The platoon system was Poitras at the starting 3, and then Trey Lyles as the backup 3. So I think, I think even still, I think we're taking BJ Boston over Alex Poitras as that 3, and then that Trey Lyles versus Camron Fletcher, Jacob Toppin, obviously favoring Trey Lyles in that case. I like Camron Fletcher. I'm hearing good things about Jacob Toppin, but I just don't think that's even a comparison. Keon Brooks at the 4, and then Lance Ware as the backup. I guess that would be Marcus
Keon would
Lee.
Be your Willie Cauley-Stein.
Keon would be Willie, who was, that's not even remotely close. And then Lance Ware versus Marcus Lee, which I think that's a little bit more even. I'm not a huge.
That's probably kind of a close comparison in terms of overall ability.
Yeah. So that one's a little bit off. And then Olivier Sarr and Carl Towns. In terms of
Probably get it to Cat, but Sarr's probably going to give you more production this year.
Production, just because you didn't need that much for this is very much swinging in the 2014-15 team's direction, obviously, but you get what we're saying. I mean, Olivier Sarr, Isaiah Jackson as the both fives down low. There's a lot of talk. I mean, John Rothstein put out that thing that said Isaiah Jackson's making a strong push. Shoot, maybe he makes a push on Keon Brooks for that backup for that, competing for minutes for that 4. And then you start getting into that argument about Keon Brooks is the backup. And I mean, this team, I think the biggest takeaway with this team is there's so much versatility. I wrote this in a this is why Kentucky's a national title contender post on KSR yesterday. And I basically said, this team is not necessarily going to kill you with just pure skill. They're going to a lot. I think just skill wise, Terence Clark, BJ Boston, and Olivier Sarr are 3 true stars that all are going SEC to types. I mean, those can be all SEC types, but where they're going to kill you is that they're going to kill you with matchups and versatility. Say you're going up against a team that's just huge. Just, you have to compete with the size. You start Terence Clark at the 1, which I've heard that he is getting a lot of work at the 1. Heard that earlier this summer. Heard that when he was being recruited, that was one of the key pitches to Kentucky, from Kentucky to Terence, was that he wanted to be used as a 1. Ball. He did, and he wanted to kind of show that versatility to the NBA scouts in his 1 year at Kentucky, that he can do both. And Calipari said, "Yeah, we believe that you can do that." And they've already been working on that. That's been a long development. That's not anything new. That's been in the works for a while. So Terence Clark can easily run the 1 there for a while. At 6'7", BJ Boston at the 2, 6'7", Keon Brooks at the 3, 6'7/6'8", Isaiah Jackson at the 4 at 6'10", and then Olivier Sarr, true 7 foot. I mean,
well, Devin Askew's 6'3", right?
Devin Askew 6'3", pushing 6'4" right now. Dante Allen 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan, 7'1" wingspan, something like that. Camron Fletcher 6'6", 6'7", strong NBA build from day one. Lance Ware's up to like 6'9", 6'10". Jacob Toppin's like 6'9", 6'10" already. This team is massive. The only guy on this entire roster that I believe is under 6'4" right now is Davion Mintz. Pretty certain he's the only guy that's under 6'4".
He's kind of a stockier build too.
Yeah, I mean this roster is just so freaking huge. So that's your size lineup. You have a lineup where you say we're gonna kill you. We're gonna kill you with size. You got one. Hey, we want pure athletes on the floor. We want to just out athlete the hell out of the opposition. Run up and down the floor, throw alley oops, just be a fun run and gun type team. You got Terence Clark again at the 1, who is one of the most athletic players out of high school. Terence Clark at the 2. You want a Jacob Toppin at the 3, a guy that you could just throw lobs to all day, or even a Camron or a Keon Brooks at the 3 or whatever. Keon Brooks at the 4, Isaiah Jackson at the 5. I mean,
lots of options.
All shooting lineup. Davion Mintz at the 1, Devin Askew at the 2, Dante Allen at the 3, BJ Boston as a small ball 4, and then Keon Brooks as a small ball 5. I mean,
I think that would be right there why I don't see Cal doing a platoon.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much versatility with these lineups.
Play. Yeah, I think his plug and play ability is going to be even better than that 2015 team, because with the 2015 team, you had guys like Dakari Johnson and Marcus Lee who were about as limited as it comes in terms of what they could do on offense. So
yeah,
being able to have guys that can literally just come in and catch lobs from every single direction is going to be nice.
So the long drawn out answer to your original question is, does this team have the opportunity to, what is your long-term, trajectory of this team? I absolutely, without a doubt, think that this is a title team, title competing team. Nobody's guaranteed to ever win a title, but this is one that will be in contention to do so.
No, I definitely think you're accurate about that. So let's kind of shift gears here a bit, if that's all right.
Let's do it.
On that?
Let's do it.
Let's shift gears to another team that could potentially also have some title aspirations, the Kentucky women's basketball team. So this is more my beat. So I will kind of quickly open it. I've done some stuff on the site the last few days that you should definitely go check out about this team. But essentially what we're looking at from them is they are also going to be another incredibly deep squad. They're going to have about 9, probably they can probably go 10 players if they want. There's a few additions that are going to be, that are still some unknowns right now, like Olivia Owens. They got a couple of freshmen that like Nia Lever-Etter and Aaron Toller who are going to come in. We don't really know much about them, but the biggest key is you're going to have the big returners in Rhyne Howard, Kiki McKinney, Tatiana Wyatt, and Chastity Patterson. Rhyne Howard was obviously SEC Player of the Year.
The GOAT. The
GOAT will very likely be a top 2 pick for National Player of the Year this coming year. Chastity Patterson is going to be, she was SEC 6th Woman of the Year last year. She will most likely slide into the starting point guard role and take that over as well. So they'll have a lot of versatility as well, and experience up top. They're going to be led by a lot of juniors and seniors. And then they've got Treasure Hunt coming in, who is the badass freshman who's pretty much mini Ryan from what, without trying to hype her up too much. She's about as mini Howard as you're going to get. So she'll probably come in and start from day one. She's about 6'2" as well and can shoot. It's kind of weird how, and like they both came from the same high school area. So that's kind of weird, but the Olivia Owens transfer edition is huge. That's big news. She's 6'4".
Let's just go ahead and stop. This was Zack Geoghegan broke this story. Pat him on the back. This was his first like big time scoop. So props to him. He worked his butt off on that one. We are very proud of him at KSR for inserting himself in the scoop game.
I'm trying to get more scoop on the schedule, which we'll talk about more in a second, but you got to bear with me, folks. So,
props, bro. Props.
The Olivia Owens news was big. She's 6'4". She brings in size that I've been covering the team for 2 years. They haven't had a player that's 6'4". So, and she was a top 20 recruit or 30 recruit before she went to Maryland. And Maryland, for all the views that don't know, is like they are the school in Big Ten as far as women's basketball goes. So, or especially over the last 10 years. So to her to go there was pretty cool. She got stuck behind a lot of really good players. That was really the only reason. So big things from her. The other issue is we've got 2 other transfers, kind of like with Sarr and Toppin. We've got Jasmine Gill, who is a Tennessee transfer, and Robin Benton, who is an Auburn transfer. As of right now, they do not necessarily, or no one really knows if they're trying to get waivers or not. I've had some questions come out ever since the Sarr news of whether or not this makes me more willing to think that those 2 might get cleared. As we know from the Joey Gatewood situation with Auburn to Kentucky, that's obviously men's football, but those SEC schools connecting is making things a little bit challenging. So who knows if the women's team is still trying to get those 2. If they can, if those 2 become immediately eligible, Kentucky will be a top 3 team in the country.
Yeah. And I think just from the surface level, I don't know why that wouldn't be something that UK goes all in on and trying to, knowing what is on the table and knowing how the NCAA has operated with players I think the Joey Gatewood situation is almost identical. Transfer, dealing with the SEC. The SEC lifted that rule blanket. I mean, it wasn't just football. I mean, it was for all sports. So you look at that on the surface
they were
level.
both going to be juniors too, so they have years left.
Yeah. So you look at that from, on the surface level, there's no excuse for UK to not go all in on that and push to it feels like Matthew Mitchell has, they've been right on the cusp so many times. They've been, 1 piece away, 2 pieces away, a couple shots falling here, a couple shots falling there, that from reaching that Final Four championship level program. And you have those players on your bench right now that are waiting for their turn. And it's just like, we have them here. They're ready to go. Let's go. This team is capable of winning a championship this year.
And that's the thing is everyone is kind of thinking, well, I guess I'm thinking that next year is the year, because when Jasmine and Robin are available, they'll have only lost a couple of seniors. Ryan will be a senior. That is going to be their year to put it all together. But like you're saying, there's no reason at this point. And I don't want to sit here and think that they should do it, but because I obviously don't have any inside information on that, but I don't know if them doing it, I'm trying to, I feel like trying to figure out timelines at this point is worthless because the NCAA just kind of does whatever they want. But, the Owens thing was about a week ago. It didn't take, that was the day after that the NCAA did that blanket waiver that you were talking about. That was the day after. And I'm sure that Sarr and Toppin news was probably picking up steam at the same time as well. So if there were to be some news about that Jasmine, Madison, Gill, and Robin Benton thing, I would assume we'd hear something within the next week. By the end of, if we were going to hear something, it would be soon because, the season starts and we're looking at 4 weeks now. So, or 5 weeks, I guess. So, they're getting close. I'm sure they're practicing and everything, but you got to get to a point where it's like, why aren't they playing? And, if you look back to the Joey Gatewood thing, it's almost like, well, why aren't they? Like Joey Gatewood got his, he got his thing. So why can't these two girls get theirs? And I'm sure that Kentucky's fighting hard because like if those two girls get on the team, like Jasmine Madison Gill was a starter on Tennessee last year. Robin Benton was also a starter. Robin Benton was one of the 2 or 3 best shooters in the league. Jasmine Madison Gill she's not that great of a shooter, but she's an all around. She does everything. She can rebound, pass, defend. She plays point guard. She's 6 feet tall. So adding her would bring another 6-foot ball handler on Kentucky's team, which they already have multiple of. So just adding those two it really would catapult them from, they're already looking at like a top 15, top 12 preseason ranking. It would shoot them up to a top 5 without a doubt. And this would be the year where you're finally thinking maybe they push it through and break that Final Four.
And let's just think, we have high hopes for the men's team. We have high hopes for the women's team. What if the year they finally put it together, they finally jump that final hurdle past the Sweet 16, Elite 8 range, and finally get to that Final Four and championship level the exact same year that the men, imagine both teams at the same time lifting up that championship trophy at the end of the year. Would that just not be a magical freaking year?
Amazing.
Oh gosh.
I want to just say, for all people that haven't paid attention to the team at all, or maybe, have heard of Rhyne Howard, but haven't watched her, you need to do so because you're going to witness something special the next time Rhyne Howard gets on the floor for a whole season. So I would be shocked if she doesn't repeat as an SEC Player of the Year, and I would be shocked if she doesn't win National Player of the Year. She will be the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft whenever that time comes, when she graduates as a senior. That's right. Kentucky still has 2 more years of her. So she's 6'2", and it's really impossible to describe. I honestly think that even the men's team would admit that she's probably the best basketball player at Kentucky's campus right now.
Didn't last year some of the men's players that they came out and said that Rhyne would sometime work out with the men's team and that she was like giving them buckets and was like fitting in like she was on the roster. Like,
I'm telling you, she's legit. 6'2". She's got a big frame. She can back you down. She has the purest looking jumper. It's so smooth, and she almost shoots it like, I don't know who a good compare. Like, she doesn't lift her feet up that high. It's very quick. Like, it looks like she puts 0 effort into it and it just goes in every time. Her fadeaway jumper is James Harden. Like, she has James Harden abilities with her step back jumper. It's kind of crazy. She's definitely stealing from them, and she hits 25, 30-foot bombs. It's like watching like a professional. It's like watching someone that does not deserve to be in the college level. So thank God the WNBA does not have that one and done rule right now.
Yeah. If there was ever a time for you to get invested in this sport, in this team, in this program, it's right this year. It's absolutely this year. You'll fall in love with them. It's going to be a blast. And Zach is going to be doing a phenomenal job covering them this year. We are thrilled. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it very much. On that note, Kentucky actually just released their official heights and weights of the men's team. Like, as we're recording this, we're talking about length and size and all that. Let me go through this real quick. There's not a single scholarship player smaller than 6'3".
Yeah.
Like Davion Mintz is 6'3" officially.
6'3".
Jacob Toppin, 6'9", 194. Put on some weight. He was like 184 last year at Rhode Island. So 6'9", 184.
Devin Askew weighs more than him.
Askew, 6'3", 198. BJ Boston, 6'7", 185. Terence Clark, 6'7", 194. That's what I'm telling you.
Big.
Terence Clark is 194. He is built. Davion Mintz, 6'3", 196. So he's built too. Dante Allen, 6'6", 198. Keon Brooks, 6'7", 205. And then going down to the Camron Fletcher, 6'6", 215. Isaiah Jackson, 6'10", 206. He's put on weight. Olivier Sarr, 7 foot, 237. And then
That's a big boy.
Then Lance Ware, 6'9", 223.
Man.
This team is massive.
That's a big
massive. Boys. That's a lot of length. That's a lot of just block shots, and oh man, that's a lot of fun right there. That's a fun little roster. So anyway, we're Kentucky basketball as a whole, both men's and women's, looking good. Damn good this year.
So let's kind of move in. Let's see. How long? Do you know how long we've been recording here? I think we're about 30-ish minutes.
30-ish minutes, yeah.
Let's quickly talk a little bit about the NBA, and then we can go into our little hot takes. And let's try and do like another 15 minutes. You say, is that all right?
Cool. Yep.
So NBA talk. Bubble is over. They're actually doing a board of governors meeting at this very moment that we are talking. The NBA they're trying to decide when to go about starting the season. They're actually going, or the next season, they're going to finally start fleshing out those details a little bit. The two biggest rumors right now are, well, actually, from what I've seen the tweets, just from what I've been sitting here, is that Christmas Day is gaining a lot of traction for the starting day for 2021 season. The other big day that they're looking at is MLK Day on January 18th. I personally think that's the day that they're going to choose because I just think it makes a lot of sense. And I also I've heard that they're definitely going to try and shorten the season again. Ideally, just from what we've seen with the ratings and everything and how bad the ratings were, and even with the NFL and the World Series, the first two games of the World Series were the two lowest watched World Series games in history.
Yeah.
Or since they started tracking that shit. So it's not politics or anything, folks. It's all about people just don't care about sports right now. But anywho, the NBA is trying to figure out a way to get back on track of their original schedule. They don't want to mix up this whole thing where they're doing we start in January and finish, in October, or whatever they're trying to do. So they're going to try and go back to that previous cycle where it's like October to June. So the way that they're going to do that is try and start this season in January and probably still try and end it in June or July, and just do like a 70 or 60 game season. So those are just kind of some little minor details about incoming season that we kind of know of right now. But other than that, we got some free agencies that is not going to be that big this year. I do think we should talk about Eric Bledsoe because I think he's going to get traded. Zach Lowe even kind of mentioned it was just a little trade idea that he just pulled out of his ass. But I do think genuinely that Eric Bledsoe will probably get traded just because of the events that have occurred in the last three playoffs with him. Do you want to kick off any NBA talk at all, or any NBA thoughts you've got before we kind of spoke some fires?
Well, I obviously being a very, very big time Boston Celtics fan, there is a trade idea going on. For whatever reason, everybody just thinks that the best idea right now is to trade Gordon Hayward and just send him off into oblivion for whatever reason, even though he's
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I'm almost like, just do it.
Gordon is a fantastic basketball player, arguably our best play, initiator, shot finder, passer. I would trust him running the point over, can I say, Kemba Walker? I kind of am at that point that if I'm trading anybody, I'd rather trade.
We'll just continue on before I pop off.
I would probably go Gordon at the 1, Jaylen Brown at the 2, Tatum at the 3. If I'm being totally honest, he obviously I'm joking.
Team.
I'm joking long term, but he is a guy that you can trust to initiate the offense and run things long term in a game, not as the primary point guard, but he's that type of valuable ball handler and creator. And for fans to just be wanting to trade him for, peanuts makes no sense. Yeah, people are floating. The Celtics are monitoring the Andre Drummond situation. Andre Drummond is ass. He is not a guy that you build around. He is not yes, there are health issues right now with Gordon Hayward that I think it's time to address. He's had a couple fluke injuries, but it always just seems to happen that he keeps getting injured. It's something that we need to talk about at some point, but not
where it's like, all right,
but not to the point where you're willing to throw him away for Andre Drummond, who is not going to help at all. There is a trade idea that's being floated around right now that Victor Oladipo wants out of Indiana. Miles Turner has kind of been on that floating, kind of on the trade block.
I would almost bet that Miles Turner gets traded just because they want to make Sabonis their guy.
So Gordon he's a hometown Indiana kid. He grew up there, went to Butler. That fit makes a lot of sense if you are, if you're going to trade salaries and try to get fit, you trade Gordon and, the 14th pick, we have 3 first-round picks this year, couple however you want to do the first-round pick game for the Victor Oladipo and Miles Turner trade. There is a slight fit there if we need to force feed one.
I could see Gordon Hayward, Miles Turner, something or other going down. I could see that.
It'd be complicated, especially to try to add that Depot piece. But he isn't expiring, and that's something that you also have to factor in, that it's not a guarantee that he's going to be long term in any place that he gets traded to or whatever. So very complicated. I am not aboard the trade Gordon Hayward train at all. I think if anything, you trade your 14, 26, and 30 or whatever, the 3 first-round picks, and see how high we can get. Can we get number 7? Can we get number 8? Can we move up in the draft and grab a future center that we like? Is there any way we can, if we can push for a James Wiseman trade, if he falls to 4 or 5, can we get up to 5 by adding in a Robert Williams and some of the young talent that we have, maybe a Romeo Langford or something like that? That is definitely something that I'm more intrigued and happy with than just saying screw it. Let's say sorry.
The Celtics have to make a move. They have to make a move
of some sort.
It's going to be Gordon Hayward or Marcus Smart. It's going to be one of those 2 dudes. Picks a bunch of picks. Like they
trade Marcus Smart. I'm riding. There's no way.
Sorry, buddy. It might happen. They're just not going to win. They're not going to get any further with this. They have to go out and get a big, like a Miles Turner. I think that'd be awesome. That would probably work pretty well for them, honestly.
Yeah.
But so let's this one kind of just popped in my head. So the Toronto Raptors, or the Louisville Raptors. You've seen the rumors for that, right?
Yes. Yeah. The Louisville thing.
I don't know. There's already been a bunch of conflicting reports saying it's not going to happen, and that a bunch of it was saying that because of the Raptors weren't fans of the decisions that the city of Louisville made in the Breonna Taylor case, which I didn't even think about until I started hearing it. And I was like, you know what, that kind of makes sense. I could see them not wanting to do that at all, considering they were just in Orlando spending months, protesting against.
Let's go play at the place where these events,
So once I started thinking about that, I'll go ahead and kill that rumor right now. I don't think that'll happen, but I do think the Toronto coming down will definitely happen. And I think you have to look at a city like Louisville is probably what they're going to be looking at. So, you got Seattle and other places. There's also talk that they might share a market with a bigger city. So you look at like New York or LA or Chicago or something like that. But
I believe the Blue Jays played in Buffalo this year. So you could have an
MLS team did it, or an maybe as an MLS team came down and played somewhere as well. So they've done it. There's 2 precedents for it already.
Yeah.
So that was news.
And I think Matt mentioned this on the radio show, but think back to what happened with OKC the one year that the New Orleans Hornets tried playing. They needed a place after Katrina to play for that one year. They had made a makeshift team in OKC for the year, and it worked, and fans loved it, and they built a team there, long term. And that's something that if what really pisses me off about the whole thing is, especially with the Louisville long-term NBA implications, the story of Tom Jurich and Rick Pitino saying no to the Sacramento Kings that were planning on coming. They were ready, had their bags packed, ready to come to Louisville. And Rick Pitino and Tom Jurich said, no, this is a Louisville basketball town. They didn't want to share the spotlight. They said, you guys are they built the Yum Center with the idea of this could fit an NBA team.
Well, that's why Louisville's being looked at, because they're one of the only cities with an NBA ready arena.
This is an NBA arena. They could put an NBA team in there tomorrow if they truly wanted to. And the only reason why the Sacramento Kings aren't there right this second, we could have had Boogie. We could have had De'Aaron Fox. We had all this time that we could have loved, these, but we've kind of, the Sacramento Kings were kind of a makeshift Kentucky team. And we could have had that in Louisville. We could have had that in the state of Kentucky. And guess what? Rick Pitino.
I will say this news, I still think is, even if it was kind of, nonsense news, I still think it was, Louisville's always kind of been the third city behind Seattle and Mexico City as like in line to try and get a team. So even if it is just a little baseless rumor like this, I still think it's good that the idea is continuing to get itself out there. And now that it is out there, I would hope that the Yum Center people are like, well, hey, maybe let's hit them up. Let's see if we can make this happen. Like I said before with the Breonna Taylor thing, I really think that the Raptors won't do it because of that. And I think the players would say no, and the owners would say, okay, you're right, we're not going to do that. So and Louisville they can create, like, even if they get a team for 1 year, like the same situation with Katrina and OKC, that's all you need to prove that you can have a team there. And obviously Louisville has the Yum Center. Do they have all the other amenities surrounding it that you need to have an NBA team? Probably not right now, but that's all stuff that you can build. So just kind of sparking the idea and setting it out there is a good start. I still think it's going to be a while before anything like that would ever happen, but nice.
Did you, I mean, what frustrated me was when the idea came up and the national reporters are putting that out. So this could have been a situation where the Raptors were looking internally going, all right, well, where can we look? Where would be a good place? Ooh, Louisville does have this. They did before the conversations of, are we going to do it? Is this a possibility? Yeah, those are where those rumors came from. And when they heard of them, the Yum Center people said, well, that's news to us. Like, they came out and got all pissy about it. Like, well, they didn't even come to bother ask us yet. Very obviously,
why aren't you asking?
Like backing,
like asking.
Well, they were kind of like not wanting to, like, saying, well, we haven't been asked about that. Like, you haven't gotten our say for the matter. Instead of saying, we don't know if these rumors are true, but we would absolutely welcome the possibility. They could have a PR move of that nature. Louisville could use some positive PR right now. Say, hey, we would love the opportunity for you guys to come in here and spread awareness to, use it as
what they would do.
Use it as an embracing moment, as a come together moment, instead of why you guys haven't even talked to us yet. It was just like any possibility of a team. I mean, a team is floating the idea of coming to your home and saying, hey, this might be something that we could be flirting with long term. And they said, as if. It was just like, dude, stop screwing up over and over again, Louisville. Accept it. Know that you guys have an NBA ready arena. You have a beautiful downtown area with it's not ready made. The outskirts of it are not, they're not ready for an NBA arena yet. But the platform.
Well, think about right now, you just need to make a bubble. They just need to make a bubble for this coming year anyways. Yeah. Well, like, not necessarily a bubble, but they don't need to have all those extra amenities outside right now because they're just going to be playing basketball and there's going to be a quarter of the fans in there anyway. So yeah, you're right. I don't know why they would come out and say it like that. They should have been like, shit, that sounds like a great idea. You all should definitely come down. That's when you go to the Raptors players and you're like, hey, look, we know all this stuff in Louisville's gone down, but if you want to come down here and spread your message, you can have a front row seat to try and use this platform. I guess that's all conjecture. I can't really, I don't want to speak on that anymore, really, but that's something that they could do. Yeah, so I think those are all possibilities. Louisville kind of, like you said, they're just on the initial news broke, they kind of screwed it up. So we'll see if they can kind of recover. I doubt that news will go away. I would imagine that because they're going to have to figure out something to do with the Raptors. They're just going to. And if the season starts in January, we're looking at about 2 months away. So they're going to have to figure that out. And Louisville, I'm trying to think what's another city that could even do it. Like if you're looking at like Chicago or like a big city, you know, maybe share it with them because Chicago just has the one team. LA is probably not a good idea because they got multiple teams.
Seattle, they've been talking about bringing
like
back to Seattle for a long time.
Then you got to think
Vegas.
like Louisville's a good like centralized spot where, you know, they could kind of teams come in from each side and not have to, you know, because if you put the Raptors, if they're in the East and you throw them out in Seattle, you know, I'm sure they're going to still be trying to do East and West things. So Louisville will always be one of the top choices, even if they don't think they are. Because there really just aren't going to be many other options. I mean, I really can't like maybe a town in Tennessee, maybe could get some Does Knoxville have an NBA ready arena? I don't know. So
I don't see it. If Louisville needs to suck it up and get it over with,
otherwise they're going to go to the Northeast.
It's happening.
Yeah. Otherwise, Toronto's just going to go find some town or some outside city in New York and go from there.
It's such a money driving. I like think of it this way.
Even if it's only 20% capacity,
rent at the Yum Center is probably just nuts. The Louisville basketball team, they are not selling out every single game.
Well, they're not going to be able
to. It's a losing building right now. Right now, the Yum Center is losing money. There have been reports over and over again about how that is not a financially feasible. Like they are actively losing money right now. They have the opportunity to bring an NBA team to Louisville that will attract anybody. Think about.
I mean, I'm sure they get a cut of TV rights for that. I mean, even if your capacity is at 20%, I would find it hard to believe that you would justify that you're still losing money holding that event as opposed to not holding it.
Right. And think about what like Louisville City FC, the soccer team that they were at they were in the Louisville Bats Stadium for the first like 2 years of their existence. And then
a big fan base, big following.
And then they built a beautiful multi-million, I mean, just massive, gorgeous facility specifically for them because that fan base is so big. And it's just like
there's an NBA fan base in Kentucky.
We just proved that they made a soccer team out of nothing, like out of just poof, out of thin air. Imagine
care about soccer here.
Imagine if De'Aaron Fox or Boogie at his 45 point per game night, you know, when Boogie was Boogie, imagine him in Louisville. That would have put asses in the seat. There would be people at the Yum Center every single night to see Boogie play. I would be there. I would have season tickets if the Sacramento Kings play. I don't care what team is there. I'm buying season tickets just because that's my home. I grew up in Louisville. That's where I came from. I want that opportunity to be able to root on a local team in my life. I've been going away from the Cincinnati Bengals my whole life. Won't cheer for them my whole life. I'm a Red Sox fan, but I'll still wear Cincinnati gear because it's kind of my home. Not ever cheering for the Colts, not ever cheering for the Titans. The reason why I'm a Patriots and Celtics and Red Sox fans is because I grew up going, I need teams to cheer for. I fell in love with those kids, you know, some of their star players as young kids, and I'm a lifelong fan now. If I had the opportunity to have that, if I had the opportunity to have a hometown team, I would buy season tickets tomorrow without even thinking twice.
Oh yeah,
without even thinking twice.
You bring up a good Lexington kids. You know, as someone who grew up in Lexington, you know, if you weren't a Bengals fan, you were a fan of one of those random teams that were good because you didn't have a local team to cheer for. People didn't care for local teams here. That's why you've got you've got a bunch of Colts, Steelers, Titans, Bengals. I mean, it's a mismatch of everything, and that's NFL obviously. But you know, bring an NBA team. There's the closest NBA team is in Indianapolis. That's 3 hours away.
Yeah, and I go every single year when the Celtics come to town just because I'm that obsessed. Just because I'm that obsessed with it. Yeah,
if you make an NBA team an hour up the road, and you've got, I mean, let's say they bring the Raptors down. You know, there's no Kentucky players on there, so. But let's say the Heat come to play, or the Celtics come to play. Like, as long as you've got you don't have to obviously base it all off of Kentucky presence, but Kentucky fans will go even if they don't care about the teams that are playing. It's
something to do. So there was one night I don't care anything about soccer at all, not even a little bit. And I haven't gotten the chance because, you know, of the circumstances right now. I haven't gotten the chance to be at the new soccer arena, but when they were at the Bats Stadium the last couple of years, I went several times just to go and get drunk, and it's like going to Lexington Legends games as a UK student. You just go. It's a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to watch. It's a fun thing to follow. You sit there, and I don't know anything about soccer, but I'm like, goal, yeah, hell yeah.
And imagine a basketball game with constant action.
There's just no excuse for the city of Louisville to not embrace that right now. And if they're even slightly defined, maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Whatever the case was, they still somehow butchered that. They
all came out. Even Dan Issel came out and he was like, because he's the big NBA to Lou guy, and he was like, I don't know what they're talking about. But anyways, I think we should kind of try and wrap things up here. I think we've done pretty well. So I know
we got a little rant for a little while. So
that's what we're doing. That's what we're all about here. So I know you kind of already teased your hot take earlier, but do you want to kind of expand on it a little bit more?
Okay.
Let's say we got 5 minutes, because I do have to leave kind of shortly.
Oh, that's right. Hot take. At some point this year, Terence Clark will start at point guard for Kentucky. That's something that has been talked about.
Who will he start with, though? Because that means, you're going to have to kick someone out.
I think when it boils down to it, there will come a time that you will want that. The cream always rises to the top. And I think Terence Clark is going to be one of the two best players on this team this year. And I think they will want to put the ball in his hands. So it will be a situation of Terence Clark just overtaking and it's not going to be an every time thing. It might even just be a situational thing, end of game situation, whatever, where they're going to want him to kind of take things over and be the initiator and play creator. I think that there's going to be a time that we go, wow, Terence Clark is doing this. Terence Clark is running the one. It's not going to be a permanent thing. I don't think he's going to overtake it permanently and he's going to be like Kentucky's point guard. But there's going to be some times that Kentucky's going to need just basket creators, people to put the ball in the hoop, and he's going to be the guy to initiate all of that. Because he's just so good at driving and slashing to the rim and finishing at the rim. He's just a slithery, quick, just smart, high basketball IQ. He gets sloppy at times, but overall, he's a guy that you're going to want the ball in his hands and to make plays happen. And if I'm playing the odds here, I think my hot take is that we're going to see Terence Clark play point guard at Kentucky. Well,
so then do you see Askew moving to the 2, or is he? I think if he's as capable of a shooter as kind of the rumors that I hear, and at 6'3", playing the 2 probably shouldn't be that much of an issue for him, especially because he's big. I know if we're looking at that thing that they just sent out, he was as big. He was
6'3", 198, I think is what
it
said.
That's huge. That's stocky. That's big. So
yeah.
Because let's starting lineup. Askew, Boston, Clark, Brooks, Sarr.
Right now, that'll be the day one. Either it depends on what they want to do with Askew, Mintz, who's winning on that. It's a very back and forth battle.
Let's go back to your part about Clark at point guard. So then move Clark to point guard. What would you do? Do you move Askew down to 2, or do you take him off, maybe throw in like a Davion Mintz and put in another shooter?
Man,
or do you put in another?
There's going to be
real long.
There's going to be a time that Kentucky is going to want to overmatch a team with size and athleticism and just say, we're going to beat the hell out of you. We're going to press. We're going to. We're going to go.
BJ Boston at the 2.
That's what I'm saying.
3. Then you throw in an
Isaiah Jackson and Olivier Sarr at the 5. That's going to be my 5. I think that's going to be the
lineup.
I think those are going to be the 5 best players on the team. I do.
Isaiah Jackson
at the 4. I think that's going to be, and I'm not saying Devin Askew is better than Isaiah Jackson. He might be, but I'm more so saying fit of that run and gun, athletic. Let's get up and down. Kentucky fans talk all the time. Oh, we love the Rick Pitino days, and we love those. That's going to be that type of team if we get to if Calipari gets ballsy enough to do it. I think he's going to. I think there's going to be some times that, especially if we're up by a lot, or we need a kickstart after halftime, or it's a rivalry game. We're playing Louisville, we're playing Tennessee, and we just want to beat the absolute hell out of somebody. That's going to be we're going to run it up on you and beat the hell out of you lineup, I think.
I think in the middle of January, we need to come back and listen to this and see what the deal is with Clark at that point, and see how right and wrong we were on some of these evaluations. But I'll quickly close out with my little hot take that I've got. The women's basketball team will have 3 all ACC performers, or all
that would be very hot take.
That'd be impressive, right? If they did that. 3 all SEC performers. Obviously, Rhyne Howard will be your first team. I'm going to put Chassie Patterson on the first team as well, and Kiki McKinney on the second team. Bing, bang, boom. 3 all SEC players. They'll probably, I'll say South Carolina will probably win the league, but Kentucky and South Carolina are going to be your 2 best teams. It's going to be a fun year. I like our
very excited. Very excited. And I'm very excited for our listeners to give us some feedback on this, give us feedback on that name. Tell if say if it's atrocious, tell us it's atrocious. If you kind of like corny, let us know, because we might just keep it as is. We'll go with the flow. If you like the Jack and Zack basketball round ball attack, whatever
Kentucky round ball attack.
Kentucky round ball attack. There we go. Jack and Zack Kentucky round ball attack. Boom. Yahtzee. Bada bing, bada boom.
Word.